Welcome back to the Mulberry Book Drop. I'm so excited to be back with you all. Episode 11. How are you, Sarah?
I'm so good. I'm in my happy place right now. We've had so many good things happening at the library. We had Big Truck Day, so we had local businesses come out and kids got to sit in the trucks and touch the trucks, and they absolutely loved it. And then we had Spirit Week. We got to go back to our high school days, and we got to dress up with different themes. And my personal favorite day was Show Your Mulberry Pride. Did you have a favorite day?
Oh, I totally did. Decade Day.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
I got to wear my overalls, my New Kids on the Block t-shirt.
Living your best life.
I was. Easily their mixtape tour, one of the best concerts. It was so much fun. So yeah, Big Truck Day was pretty awesome. Those kids were so excited. But we also have been doing like a film club, which I have to say has been a blast.
Yes.
We just did Tinker, Tailor, Soldier, Spy by John le Carre, and that was pretty cool. So we read the book, watched the movie together, and then we talked about it. You got to go to the first one, right?
I did. It was so much fun. It was the Maltese Falcon.
That's cool. Yeah, we've been taking turns hosting it, so it's pretty awesome. Our next one's going to be on March 23rd at 1 o'clock, and it's going to be The Call of the Wild by Jack London.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a good one. So I think that'll be fun. But yeah, it'll be right at the library, so you guys can read the book on your own and then come for a watch party and stay afterward to discuss.
Yeah, what a good time. Yeah, film club is so much fun. I wish we could have it every day, but we can't. It's fine. But I do highly recommend it. But as a reminder, please follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and of course, you can listen to us on our podcast, which you are if you're here. So, but stay up to date by following us on all of those platforms. So, but if you have any suggestions, please email us, because we love suggestions, we love ideas, and we love to hear from you guys. So email us at themulberrylibrary@gmail.com. That is all one email. The Library Mulberry. Nope. The Mulberry Library. Ooh. See, I was just testing you guys. Nope. It's the Mulberry Library @gmail.com.
See, and that kind of goes into what I wanted to talk about first before we go too far today.
Perfect.
I have a semi-correction.
Oh?
It is, but it isn't. There was something from our other episode last month that was kind of bothering me because it was stuck in my head because I said something and then it kept me awake at night because I didn't know if I was right.
Wait, what was it?
So in the February episode, do you remember how we talked about Twilight and True Blood?
Yes.
Okay. I kind of just went out on a limb and acted like I knew things and was like, they were published at the same time, obviously. Mm-hmm. Because for a long time, I worked in a bookstore and I couldn't go a single shift without somebody asking me for a book from one series or the other.
Okay.
So in my head, they were the same, right? Well, I'm a total nerd and I looked up their time period and I learned that I was not right, but I also was not wrong.
Okay.
Because there is a lot of crossover between these two series. So are you ready for this?
I'm ready. Give me the breakdown.
Okay. Sookie and Bella. 2001, our first Sookie Stackhouse book was published. 2005, Bella made her debut in the Twilight novel. Okay. Then in 2008, it was around August 2nd, if I remember correctly from my notes, the final Twilight book was released. So that was Breaking Dawn.
Okay.
Did you ever go to a midnight release party?
No, that is so past my bedtime. I went to maybe some opening weekends of the movies, but I was not built for the midnight life at all.
Oh, me neither. But I did have to do some of the Harry Potter ones for
okay.
work, and that was always fun. But did you dress up for the movies?
No.
Okay. Okay, so now fast forward a little bit further into 2008, and True Blood is put onto the television screen. So that was the Sookie Stackhouse books were made into a TV show in 2008. Then 2 months later, the first Twilight movie comes to our local theaters.
Okay, so that part was in the same year.
Yeah, so we're just going back and forth between the two of these. So now, 2012, the final Twilight movie came out, and then a year later, the final Sookie Stackhouse book was released. That was called After Dead. I know, guys, this is so much. And then in 2014, it was the series finale of True Blood.
Oh, I didn't realize that was on that long.
Yeah, it was basically like a 13-year span of just back and forth, one and then the other, one and then the other. So just when you think it's over, Sarah, what happens in 2020?
Oh my gosh.
We decided, apparently, that we needed to know Edward's version of events, and Midnight Sun was released in 2020. So, there you go.
And that book is big.
It is.
So big.
Was it good? You read it, didn't you?
I did. It's a lot of him thinking, so you're just in his mind, and he's a very complex character.
Okay.
Very, very complex.
Interesting.
So that was funny. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It just was one of those things. Listen, guys, I would never intentionally steer you wrong or give you misinformation. So it just was something that was bothering me, and I just had to find out if I was right, if I was wrong. So back to the little thing about our email. If we ever happen to say something and you guys have other information, you're welcome to share it with us.
Yeah.
We will happily make corrections. I am not a perfect person. So the mulberrylibrary@gmail.com, please feel free to reach out. So, but I feel better.
Good.
We do have a script, but I don't know. I kind of use that term loosely because even though we write stuff down, it's like once we start talking.
Yes. Yeah, no, 100% we do.
All right, are you ready to get into today?
Yes, what do you have for us today?
Well, so February was actually Black History Month, and it was really fun. We put a table up, and it was so cool watching people check stuff out from that table and try new authors and things. And for me personally, I have to say the author that I added to that table this year was Ryan Reynolds, and he's hand down like my favorite that I found over the last couple of years. I really like his writing.
He's fantastic.
Yeah. And that sort of leads me into a couple of books that I read, and trust me, you're going to have to stay with me here because it's going to lead us into why we're here today. But I read 2 books last month that just happened to come in on my hold list randomly. It was just kind of perfect timing, and they sort of went with Black History Month.
Okay.
So that's like the hold list is such a great surprise sometimes, isn't it?
Yes.
It's probably one of my favorite things. Sometimes I forget I requested stuff. So the first book was The Last House on the Street by Diane Chamberlain.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was. It takes place in 2 time periods, so present day and then 1965 during like the Civil Rights Movement. And one of the major plot points is the SCOPE project, which I did look up after I finished it, and it does stand for the Summer Community Organization and Political Education Project. So it was basically like college volunteers that were going into these communities to try and help people, help African American families prepare to vote, because they were trying to get the Voting Act passed. And so they were just getting them ready. And that's a major plot point in the book. And it was really interesting, learning a little more about that. And I'm finding the older I get, the more I love historical fiction, because I am I don't know if I want to call myself a Googler or a rabbit hole person, but like when I finish a book, I tend to jump online and like try to see if I can learn more, or how true was this? Yeah. So there was a lot that I took away from that book. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. No, I am as well getting into historical fiction lately, and I don't know, like a huge like World War II historical fiction kind of person. Just because even though I know it's fiction, but it's still, I don't know, you can just, I don't want to say relate to people, but you can kind of get different viewpoints of what was going on, maybe. So, okay, but you said there were 2, so what's the other one?
Yeah, okay, so the other one that came in during February for me was The Invention of Wings by Sue Monk Kidd. This one, it was really interesting because this is the one that crosses over into what I want to talk about today. So while it was perfect for Black History Month, it also is perfect for March, which is Women's History Month. Yes. And this novel actually takes place like pre-Civil War, and it follows these girls named the Grimke sisters. I don't know if I pronounced their name right, so I apologize if I didn't, but they were actually a huge part of the abolitionist movement and women's rights. So again, I went down a rabbit hole with this one after. I grew up not far from Seneca Falls, New York, which is considered like the birthplace of women's rights. And, I've been there. It's an amazing place, but I do not recall ever hearing their name before.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So I was sort of like, where have I been living? So after I read it and I looked them up and I realized how incredibly important they were, and they were just such a huge part of our history. And so that kind of takes us into Women's History Month. So again, that one was called The Invention of Wings by Sue Monk Kidd. And it follows the Grimke sisters. So I don't want to give too much away about the book, though, because I definitely think it's worth reading. So I'm going to leave it a little vague.
Yeah.
So, Sarah, if I say Women's History Month to you, is there any like particular person that comes to mind?
There's actually a few, but probably the one that like, I don't want to say I love her the most, but I do actually like genuinely love her as a person. But Maya Angelou, however you want to say her last name. But if you don't know who she was a very talented writer, speaker, and heavily involved with civil rights. She was actually abused as a child and she didn't speak for several years. And so she found her voice through her writing. And if some of her writing, not some, all of her writing is just beautiful. I mean, she actually befriended Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. But her most famous work is I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, and I know you know that one. But she also recited one of her poems called In and Out of Time, and I'm a huge Medea, like Tyler Perry person. And so she recited that in Medea's family reunion, and it's like my favorite scene in the whole movie.
I didn't know she was even in that.
Yes. Queen. I love her. Oh my goodness. She's still just amazing. And she passed away, I believe, in like 2014. But she's one of those people that just made such a lasting impact. Yeah. Like through her writing and just genuinely as a person. So, I love her. What about you?
So mine probably not really surprising, but I always think of Susan B. Anthony.
Ooh.
Yeah, and some of you already know this, but I grew up in Rochester, New York, and that's actually, I mean, if you're from Rochester, you went on a school field trip to Susan B. Anthony's house. Like, that was a thing. But it's really cool because she's also buried there, and so every time there's an election, people flock to the cemetery to honor her, and it's such a amazing tribute they do, but they always take their I voted stickers and they put them on her headstone. Yeah, it's gorgeous, and you know, there always ends up being these pictures of it just completely covered, and you know, she was such an important person in our history, and you know, a really condensed version is that her father was actually friends with Frederick Douglass, and that led her to being like an abolition activist, and then she became a major player for like women's suffrage movement, and she was fighting for our right to vote. And what some people don't realize is like she was actually arrested for voting in 1872. And then I also double checked my date because I didn't 100% trust my memory on this one. She passed away in 1906, which was actually 14 years before the 19th Amendment was passed. And that's the amendment that allows us to vote.
Wow.
So, yeah. So you know, no matter what you do, whether you're still here or not, you can have a lasting impact for sure.
Yes. And I mean, what powerful, beautiful women. Like, I love it. I mean, we didn't even scratch the surface.
No. But
wow, just amazing.
Yeah. So do you ever kind of wonder where all these national days come from? Like, who decides?
I legitimately always do wonder, and like, I want to be put on the committee for it because, like, how did they become a thing?
Yeah. Well, I looked up National Women's History Month because, you know, I knew we were talking about it today, and I found out that, according to my sources, it actually began in Sonoma, California in 1978.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they would host like a week-long celebration of, you know, women's contributions to, you know, culture, history, society, that kind of stuff. And then in 1980, because more and more school districts and communities were doing things, President Jimmy Carter actually issued a presidential proclamation. So he declared March 8th to be like a week for women's history.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then Congress followed up, and they actually passed a resolution that established it as a national celebration. So if you fast forward just a little bit more, about like 6 more years or so, that was when a petition was put forth, and it was successful, and so they expanded it to cover the whole month. So this month began in one school district.
Very cool. And the only thing that I have to say about that is who run the world? Girls.
If you guys are looking for books that deal with like women's history, fear not. There are so many out there, and it's not necessarily just nonfiction. I know we were just talking about historical fiction a little bit. And, you know, if it is fiction, you have to understand that there is going to be some tale spinning in there to make it exciting and readable. But a lot of times it is based off of these real people and real events, and it's just so incredible. So fiction or nonfiction, there is a lot to learn out there that highlights some amazing women.
Yes, there are so many. We've learned about a lot of amazing women in fiction titles that we've read. It's really impressive the amount of work that some authors will do to try and be true to the person or the story that they're highlighting to. And I always really appreciate that. And I know you do as well.
I do. I kind of find sometimes if like fiction reads like a memoir, or if a nonfiction title just feels so unbelievable, sometimes it's kind of, what's that thing they say, like the truth is stranger than fiction.
Yes.
It's, you know, sometimes when I get that, I'm just thinking to myself, okay, this person was the real deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Last month for Book and a Craft, which is one of our elementary school programs, we read the picture book that Misty Copeland wrote.
Oh, yeah.
And it's called Firebird, and the illustrations were beautiful, and it's like about her dancing. And then we got to play a video of her dancing for the kids, and I didn't realize how many of the kids, especially in the morning session, that we have that actually dance, like ballet.
Oh.
So that was really cool. And even like we had one of our boys was in there, and his mom put him in ballet, and she was like, see, in one of the videos she had a partner, and she was like, see, guys do dance ballet. And I was like, dude, it's so cool.
I love that.
Yeah.
She is a beautiful dancer too.
Yes.
So one of my favorites that I always tell people about is a book called The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. It's by Rebecca Skloot. So Lacks, if you don't know who she is, she actually passed away from cervical cancer, and she was never recognized or compensated for the use of her cells, because what happened was when she was going to the doctor's appointments and stuff, they actually took some of her cervical cells, but they never told her.
Whoa.
Yes. And so her cells, they're actually used in a lot of medical advancements. So, but not just like cancer. Like her cells have been used for the polio vaccine, Parkinson's disease. I saw something that even said lactose digestion.
Interesting.
Yeah, they have used it for so much medical research. But you know, you would have to read the book and you can decide for yourself if the benefits outweigh the moral issue of it all. But it's just this fascinating story. I mean, she, you know, to most of us, she was just a wife, mother of 5. She started her life working with her family in the tobacco fields. And then, you know, fast forward in this unfortunately short life of hers. And, you know, she ends up being this huge person for the medical research community. And she was even buried in a unmarked grave.
Oh.
Yeah. And so when I was double checking before this episode, I saw that her family has actually had a headstone made for her. And you know what it's shaped like?
Like what?
A book. It's beautiful. And so what it reads on it is Henrietta Lacks, August 1st, 1920 to October 4th, 1951. In loving memory of a phenomenal woman, wife, and mother who touched the lives of many, here lies Henrietta Lacks, Gila. Her immortal cells will continue to help mankind forever. Eternal love and admiration from your family.
That's beautiful.
Isn't it? So you've probably heard of the Gila cell.
Yes.
That's her.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so... Wow. Sorry. Not saying I got a little teary-eyed there, but I did. Okay, so I want to talk about a book called It's Not Supposed to Be This Way by Lysa TerKeurst. And I know I've mentioned her on the podcast before. I don't think I've ever particularly mentioned this book. But this book really helped me get through places in a season that I was in. I had all these unrealistic expectations, which I'm sure a lot of women go through in every aspect of life. And I was really struggling, and I didn't feel like I was supposed to be further along, like in my career, further along in schooling, all that. And so this book, and I kept being disappointed in myself. So this book helped me get through that, and the book helps deal with a lot of different things. So I'm very grateful that she wrote it, and she's read other phenomenal books as well. But It's Not Supposed to Be This Way. It really spoke to me, and I actually know a lot of friends that have read it as well. and it helped them through different things that I went through. So it's really cool.
That title in itself is just perfect.
Yes, I know.
It really is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So the next book I wrote down for us, I think you might have to help me with a little bit,
Okay.
because it has been on my reading list, and somebody had us mention it on the podcast previously during the Your Favorites episode, and like, not even joking, someone just returned it today before we came to record, and she like hugged the book before she handed it to me.
Aww.
I know. Do you know what it is?
I mean, I have a guess, but I'm gonna let you say it.
It's The Book of Lost Names by Kristin Harmel.
Okay, so I'm reading that book right now, and it's actually sitting right next to me right now. First off, the cover is gorgeous.
It is.
It is absolutely stunning. But the main character, her name is Eva. She is fictional, but she's based on real life foragers. I think I'm saying that wrong.
Yeah.
Am I saying that right?
Yeah,
okay.
forgery.
During World War II. So remember when I said I like historical fiction based in World War II? Here we go. But it's women who put their forgery skills to use helping Jewish children escape. So it really is. Historical fiction is such an untapped resource. So what is the saying? Like, the truth is stranger than fiction?
Yeah, that's what we said.
It sounds, and this author, I'm pretty sure, writes a lot of historical fiction. So I think let me look. I can look right now, actually. If you hear me flipping into my book. I'm on chapter 12. So I'm on page like 123.
Okay.
And so far it's so good. And it's funny that you mentioned that somebody returned it today, because I had it sitting on the counter and somebody else saw it. And as she was leaving, and she listens to the podcast, so shout out to Jen. But she saw that I was reading it, and she said something, and I was like, what? She goes, wait, how far are you in? And I was like, oh, only about 100 pages. And she goes, oh, let me stop talking. Read.
Oh my gosh. I love that.
Yes. She was like, it's so good. And I was like, oh, I love it so much. And it's one of those books that you know you're going to cry. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I'm ready.
I'm excited.
Yes.
I really can't wait to read that one.
Yes. Ugh.
It's crazy sometimes, like, when you think about like an important moment in history, and I think I've talked to people about this before. I don't know if I've said it on the podcast, but like, if you say World War II, you just think Germany. Right. And so you don't think about like what was happening in Paris or what was happening stateside. And so sometimes that's what I love, is reading these books that show you a different side of the picture.
Yes.
Right. And even sometimes within these little spaces, like, remember when we read the Tattooist of Auschwitz, and, learning what these people did to survive and to help their fellow man. And it's just unbelievable.
Oh yeah. 100%.
I love it.
All I want to do is curl up and read it.
Well, we got to finish recording first.
Right?
All right. So my next one, I actually had picked a memoir that I read not too long ago. And this one is called Educated by Tara Westover. Do you recognize that name?
Yes, and I think I can picture the cover. Is that the one with a pencil?
It's got like a pencil on the cover,
okay.
Yeah. So it's a memoir. But in it, she talks about escaping the isolated life that she was born into because she really wanted to attend college. So it has a large emphasis on the importance of education and exploring the world that's actually around you. And there's a lot to unpack in this one. So definitely there's so much in there, from, family to the importance of education, hard work, all that kind of stuff. But it was a good reminder that you don't have to be like quote unquote famous, right, to make a difference in the world.
Yeah.
And it just, there was something about standing up for yourself and being your own advocate. And I think it's a really hard lesson to learn. And I think sometimes it's also a hard one to teach.
Yes.
And I was just so impressed with what she was able to do with her life, and I just found it really impressive. So that's Educated by Tara Westover.
I think that one is on my to be read list, because I
Okay.
think when you were reading it, I think actually quite a few people that were working in the city at the time were also reading it.
Okay.
Or have read it. So that definitely piques my interest for sure.
Well, you know me, I'm a sucker for a memoir.
Right. Okay, so the next ones that I'm going to talk about, we've mentioned them probably once or twice on the podcast, but it's actually the Lunar Chronicles series. So like the first book is Cinder, and then there's Scarlet, Cress, Winter. They all have a very strong female role. And they do have, like, love interest in the book, but it doesn't overpower the book. And it made me, like, because all those books are based off of, like, you know, Cinderella and, like, Little Red Riding Hood and stuff. And what is the common thing in those books? Everybody has to be saved by, especially a man. And I'm not saying that's not, like, romantic and cute. But the twist on these books is that they're not being saved by them. Like, they're kind of, like, teaming up together. And so that might have been a really big reason why I actually enjoyed those books as much as I did, is because of how strong the female leads were. And stubborn. And I was like, that's me. Wow.
I think those are a good one too, though, if I can just interject for a second.
Yeah.
But my boys all loved them.
Yes.
And I think that series is a really good one. You know, whatever, boy, girl, adult, young adult, doesn't really matter. I think it can read for everyone. And to be able to see these strong female leads is pretty awesome, and you're cheering for them.
Yeah. And I mean, you love the male characters as well.
There was a lot of teamwork in those books too.
It was. And you know what, guys? Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah, because even though they were strong female leads, it wasn't like anti-male or anything.
Right. No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
No, it was. Yeah. The writer did a great job on them.
That's so awesome. Okay. I feel like this has gone by really fast.
Yeah.
I don't know what just happened. But I'm kind of like, we already talked about a lot of books.
Yeah.
So I don't want to go too crazy because, you know, we have more episodes of this that we'll be doing in the future. So we can't throw everything out there right away.
Right.
So I think I'm just going to say to you, Happy National Women's History Month.
Back at you.
And before we close out, I am going to ask you our obvious question, but what are you currently reading?
I mean, plot twist, spoiler alert, it was already said, I am reading the Book of Lost Names, and by Kristin Harmel. Did I say it right?
I believe so.
Okay,
yeah.
And y'all, I'm telling you, I'm only 100 books. No, I'm 100 pages in, and I'm already loving it so much. And like, if what we just said wasn't enough to entice you to read it, just take a look at the cover, and you'll be sold.
Yeah. And if you're looking for other stuff too, come visit us. We do have a table up for Women's History Month. So there are some great books on that table. And so we have not even scratched the surface here.
Right. So, okay. So what are you reading?
Oh, okay. So I just did a local author. I did Best State Ever by Dave Barry. It was hilarious.
Yes, I read that. He's so funny.
Yeah. So this book is obviously humor. If you are not familiar with him, he is a humor writer. He is also local. He is a Florida writer. I probably should have been offended because in the very beginning there was a section that was like, shut up, New Yorkers. But I'm sorry. I can't. The bread up there is just better. I get it. I know you're mad hearing us complain about bagels, but it is what it is, guys. We just have to learn to live together.
See, it's not the bread for me. It's when people are always complaining about Florida water.
Okay, well, like, that's true too, though.
And I'm like, I can't do anything about it. I don't know why you're complaining to me about it. Anyway, sorry.
We go up north and I'm like sticking my head under the faucet at my dad's house just drinking the water. And the other one that really surprised me was Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. So it showed up on my hold list, another surprise that I kind of forgot I had requested. And this one I would put in a category of like dystopian fiction or pandemic fiction. I'll be honest, probably would have rated it a little higher than I did if I had read this like pre-2019, 2020. Like it came out, I think, in like 2014. Okay. So if I had read it when it first came out, I probably would have been a little higher. But, you know, life is what it is right now. And it was just some of the stuff that was happening in the book was just like, oh, goodness. Like
hit a little too close to home.
A little bit. Yeah. But I enjoyed it. But here's what impressed me. There were so many characters. And there was also moving timelines. So it's like day 1, year 15, 5 years before. Like, so it's bouncing around.
Oh, okay.
But her writing, I think this really speaks to how she pieced it together and her abilities as a storyteller. I wasn't confused. I was able to keep the characters straight. I kept the timeline straight. And it kind of really surprised me that I didn't get lost in it.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. Is that the one that they made a TV show based off of?
They did, and I sort of put off watching it, but now that
Okay.
I finished the book, even though I have been told the book and the show are different, I get it. I think I do want to watch it now.
Oh. Is the show on now?
I believe so, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's on like one of the streaming services.
Gotcha.
So.
Well, awesome. Okay, well, guys, we had so much fun today. But don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast. We love hearing from you guys and seeing what you guys think. So follow the Mulberry Public Library on your preferred social media to stay up to date. We'll be back in April with our final episode for season 1. So happy reading, Mulberry.
Whew, you made me nervous.